Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Midnight Terrors podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm your host today, back with a very exciting and special episode. Here with a special interview that I've been looking forward to for a while. I'd like to welcome our special guest. I met this gentleman back at Haunted Screams Expo in 2022, and he is a very talented actor and stunt performer. Very excited to have him here today. Many credits, including X2, X-Men United, Watchmen, The Cabin in the Woods, and more. But you also really know him as Michael Myers in 2002's Halloween Resurrection. Please welcome Brad Loree. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Hello. Hi, gang. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show, Kev.
Of course, of course. I wanted to double check to make sure I was saying your last name right because I've heard it said quite a few different ways.
It's pronounced like the word calorie or cutlery. Loree,
Ah,
Loree. Yeah, it's a francophone version of the Irish name Lowry.
gotcha. My last name is Roach, and there's no accent above the E or anything, but I often get Roche or Roche a lot of the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Roach.
can
That's
relate.
pronounced roach. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, I know it's confusing, but that always the hard ch sound.
Yeah.
Um, but
Ch-ch-ch.
yeah. But good to see you again, Brad. How are things where you are right now?
Things are smoky.
Oh yeah.
Washington State's on fire. British Columbia's on fire. Half the continent's on fire. But no, things are good, Kevin. I'm just enjoying the weather here in Vancouver. We're still got a nice summer going on, and I'm just excited this weekend. I'm going to Boston to do a couple of one-day events, but on the Monday, I'm going to be at Fenway Park to see my Mariners play the Red Sox, and I've never been to Fenway, so I'm really excited about being there.
Oh, fantastic. That's
Yeah,
gonna be great.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear things are going well. Is it still hot where you are with this summertime?
Yeah, we're in the high 70s. You know, we don't get super hot in Vancouver, but of course, the nice thing too about Vancouver, just like Seattle, we don't get stupid cold in the winter. We're the
Sure.
only city in Canada that doesn't get into that, that minus 20, minus 30, minus 40 down. We get too much rain, but at
Sure.
least we're not, getting the dropping dead from pneumonia.
Sure. I get that. I get that. It's a nice and rainy day over here. I'm over in Charleston, South Carolina, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
nice and humid and wet today.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but pleasure to talk to you. No rain can stop my excitement today. Like I said, lucky enough to meet you a few years ago. You were one of my favorite people to talk to at the cons I've been to, so I was really excited to get to talk to you here today. And big fan of the Halloween franchise myself. I actually told you at the time that Halloween Resurrection was one of my favorites, and I think you were a little confused when I said that. Uh,
Well, Kevin, I wasn't confused. Well, it depends when it was. But when the movie first came out, everybody was so upset that Michael Myers got beat up by a subpar martial artist. And everyone was saying how much they hated the film. You were okay, but the movie stunk. But now I'm hearing more and more people your age that were just kids when it came out. So it was the first Halloween they saw, or say the first Halloween they saw in a theater. And I'm getting a lot more positive feedback than I used to get. That's for sure. So I appreciate what you said.
Oh, of course. I think I told you at the time, and I stand by this, that Halloween Resurrection being at the end of the initial run of the Halloween series just has such a different, unique feel to it that really sets it apart from the rest of the franchise, and I really admire that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, good point.
It was like the turn of the millennia or whatever that phrase is, but different era with the 2000s, so they were incorporating some technology, different tone, and I think it makes it a really special entry. So it's definitely one of my favorites for sure.
No, I appreciate it. A lot of people didn't like the fact that it all took place in the house.
Sure.
But I've watched that film enough times. Like, mind you, I'm biased, but I just don't. Who cares if it's all in the house? I didn't see a boring moment in the whole film. I thought it was either
Mm-mm.
fun or it was scary. You know?
Absolutely. And so going back a little bit before you got into the Halloween franchise, did you grow up watching scary movies yourself at all?
No, not at all. I
Not at
mean,
all.
I've never seen the original Frankenstein or Dracula. When I was 19, Kevin, I was dating this girl who was, I don't know what she saw in me, but she was way out of my league. So, and she loved horror movies. So for 2 years, a little over 2 years, all we ever saw was horror films. And when we broke up, I was heartbroken. But I thought to myself, well, at least I never have to watch another horror film. I had to take positive out of it. And then the next week, everybody and their dog was talking about this movie Halloween, which I refused to even try to. But people wouldn't shut up about it. They were so excited. I said, "Look, it's not my thing. I don't care." But by the time I complained to my cousin Diana, who's the one that said to me, "Well, Brad, I really quite enjoyed it because she." I respected her opinion enough that I ended up renting it. And then I watched it and I fell in love with the first one. I thought the sequel was as good a sequel as I've ever seen. And then, of course, was very disappointed with the third one. But it answers to your question. I do love the first two Halloween films. But other than that, I'm not a horror guy. I I tried to watch the 2-minute trailer of Terrifier just because I keep running into what's his name that played the character. Is it David?
Oh,
Anyway, but I only got halfway through the trailer and I had to turn it off because there was just blood that's flying everywhere and it's just not my thing.
sure, sure. Understandable.
I'm a
And
coward. What can I say?
oh, I get that. It's a weird kind of masochistic thing. Like I'm also a big scaredy cat, but I just love watching horror movies because there's something kind of adrenalizing about it.
Well, I'll tell you, Kevin, I love horror fans.
Okay.
So loyal to their genre. It's just that they're only interested in horror and they're so passionate with and their enthusiasm they share with one another. And I kind of envy that. Like when I was 13 and fell in love with Bruce Lee and the martial arts, I can relate to that because that's all I thought about. But yeah, I just I'm thinking that there must be some kind of a buzz that people get from being scared that I either don't like or I'm not getting the same thing. I'm experiencing something different than they are.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's
It's
my theory.
gotcha, gotcha. Well, that's interesting. I definitely can understand that. I think horror garners a very different response from many different people, so totally understandable. But I have seen you around at a few other cons, and it seems like people really enjoy when they get to talk to you about what the franchise and horror means to them. So I love seeing that.
Well, I appreciate that no one ever seems to take offense to the fact that I'm not a horror fan, because
Sure.
I love you horror fans. I'm just not a big fan of horror movies because you know, I my idea of a scary movie when I was a kid was The Ghost of Mr. Chicken with Don Knotts, and that was just the most hokey comedy you ever seen. But that was scary to me.
Oh,
Anyway,
fantastic. Love it, love it. How did you get your start in doing acting and stunt work?
well, when I was 13, I fell in love with Bruce Lee's first film and Bruce Lee and the martial arts. And so I joined the local karate school. I was in this little one horse town. We only had the one school, but the green belt instructor was a guy named Tony Morelli. Well, Tony went on to become the WKA World Cruiserweight Kickboxing champion, like full on karate kickboxing. And because I was his number one student and protege, he sort of dragged me along. And then as he recruited me as a sparring partner. And then, in the early 80s, when the film industry was first discovering, British Columbia, he started doing the stand-in work and then some extra work and whatnot. And then one day, the stunt guys took him aside and said, "Hey, we think you should be one of us." And because I was his friend, he dragged me along. And but Kevin, I have to tell the whole story because I so looked up to this guy. And I was so in awe of these stunt people. I never imagined that I could be a full-time stunt guy. So I never really pursued it. Plus, since I was a child, I always thought being an actor was the coolest thing. But one day after work, we did a couple days on a show called Street Justice, fighting in this big prison scene. Ken Kersinger said, "Brad, we're going for a beer after work, and so why don't you come with us?" And it was over that beer that Kenny said, "Brad, you should be doing this. If you go and get a pager, a headshot, and a resume, I'll take you around and introduce you to everybody you need to meet." And I got that all done like inside of a week, Kevin. And to his word, he did. Tony opened the door, and Kenny pushed me through it. That's how I describe it.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah,
I actually just met Ken like a year ago, and what a lovely man. I can totally understand how he was able to do that.
yeah, yeah. He's a very, very, very giving person. Very kind.
For sure. And you mentioned the martial arts background. I never really imagined that, but yeah, that's definitely a good way to get started in stunts, definitely doing that. Is martial arts something that's still important to you to this day?
It is, but I'm too beat up to do it, mind you. You know, I'm 66 and I got the bad back, and then both my hips need surgery, my shoulder and my neck, blah blah blah. But I still, I'm watching boxing right now. I've really gotten into watching female fighters. I grew up in an era where women and children are not to be harmed. Even by other women and children. But the undercard of the Jake Paul Mike Tyson debacle was Katie Davis and Amanda Serranos, and that's got to be, Kevin, in the top 10 best fights I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Now I've discovered this little Japanese kickboxer named Mona Kimura who is so worth watching. And then there's this Bulgarian English girl named Dakota Davidovich or something like that. And she's this gorgeous model looking chick, but when she gets in the ring, she's all elbows and knees, and she right. And there's something about watching a woman that, if she's walking down the street, she could defend herself against 80-90% of the guys.
Right.
I like that. I like the idea of a woman that can defend herself.
Absolutely. And so once you got started with, the headshot and getting into stunt work, what was that process like? Did you just take any job you could kind of find, or were you looking for something particular?
Well, no, I was the big guy. Kevin. The lead actors are always guys that are, they're not 6'2" very often. Okay, so you're the big guy, you're the fighter. So I was the guy that got punched, kicked, shot, hit with a stick, and I would fall down and get beat up. 90% of my meat and potatoes was, what we call ground pounding, where you, for whatever reason, have to fall onto the ground. And and then at one point we developed a category here with our union up here called stunt actor, where it's cheaper for a production to have a stuntman that can say 2 or 3 lines and then get shot and fall down the stairs than to have to hire an actor and then have to hire a stunt double for that actor who's only saying the 2 or 3 lines, you see. So I at one time I was like the stunt actor in Vancouver, but I've been out of the loop now for a long time. But I liked stunt acting because it was 90% acting and 10% stunts. The stunting was never anything big. If it was falling over in a chair, well, the actor doesn't want to do that. We'll get a stunt guy to do it. So, God bless lazy actors.
That's a great way to look at it. They provide work for other people by doing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but in answer to your question, Kevin, Kenny would introduce me to all these people. I'd make sure they got my resume. I made sure the last the suffix of my phone number. I've had 3 different phone numbers over the last 30 years, but the suffix has always been 2723, which spells Brad.
Ah,
I made it
okay.
easy to memorize my phone number, you see. And the deal was, when somebody hired you for the first time, you made sure you went that extra yard to make a good first impression, and which I managed to do. I mean, I was not a technically talented, like these kids today that are gymnasts and world class martial artists with all this flippy, I just throw
Sure.
myself in the air, let gravity do the rest. But I was good at what I did, and but I wasn't an overly technical stunt guy. I I made a lot of money being the bad guy or the alien that gets beat up.
I mean, hey, that leads to fun memories too. All the bad guys and the big
Oh yeah,
creatures get great moments.
that's right. That's right. Oh, great memories.
Fantastic. So going into stunt work and what you had been doing up to that point, how did you get into playing the role of Michael Myers for Halloween Resurrection? How did that process go?
Um, I had worked on I had just finished 13 episodes of a low budget Fox show, kids show called Los Luchadors. These guys were Mexican wrestlers by day and crime fighters by night. And I was dubbing the lead guy. And then our stunt coordinator, Jacob Rupp, after we did the first 8, he went off to do a feature, but he told production, listen, Brad's your lead stunt guy, but he can also be the coordinator. So now I'm doing the coordinating and the stunt doubling. So every Friday I would go up to the accountant's office, and it was a pretty healthy check for 1 week's work. Let's just say that, Kevin. So did the 13 episodes, and we were 99% certain we're coming back for a second season. So, you go off, but, now you're on hiatus for a couple of months, and everybody goes off. And this guy named Brian Knight, who was one of the first ADs we were working with, he was interviewing with the Halloween people, knowing full well he wasn't going to take the job, but as a professional courtesy, because it's all about networking. And in his interview, they mentioned to him, "Yeah, we don't know who our Canadian stunt coordinator or our Michael Myers is going to be yet." And he goes, "Oh well, you should talk to Brad Loree because he can do both." And I got a call out of the blue from this lady named Tracy Long, who was the production manager, and I'm driving. So Kevin, I'm only half listening to the conversation, right? But I thought she said we're looking for a stunt double for Mike Myers, Austin Powers, that guy, right? And I thought, boy, his career sure has gone down. So then she says, "Brad, how tall are you?" I says, "I'm 6'2.5". "Oh, perfect. Can you come in tomorrow to see the executives?" So I went in the next day and met everybody, and everybody was there, director, producers, everybody. It was like hiring Michael Myers was an afterthought almost, Kevin. Anyway, so I did the walk for Rick a few times, and he turned to the producer. "Yeah, he'd be fine." So Paul Freeman, the producer, said, "Now, Brad, you're the first guy we've talked to, the first guy we've looked at. We've got to consider other people. But if we do decide to go with you, we're going to send you down to LA to cast your head so we can build the mask around the shape of your head and your face. And that way it'll be more." And I said, "Whoa, I got to go all the way to Los Angeles just to double some hummy actor." They says, No. You're not going to double the guy. You're going to be the guy." And that's when everything changed, Kevin.
Oh, that's
I'll swear
amazing.
to you, if it had been any other horror franchise, I might have gone. Yes, I might have gone with Jason because I did kind of enjoy the first Friday the 13th. But if it had been anybody else or anything else, I still would have passed on it. But when they told me I was going to play Michael Myers, I was like, okay. So I passed on because Luchadors did come back, Kevin, but they only did 2.5 episodes and they shut the whole show down. Um,
Jeez.
so I got lucky there, decided to go with the. So that's how I got the Michael Myers job, and it was just the greatest 6 weeks, 5 weeks of shoots and a week of reshoots, and I just had so much fun. All the actors treated me like a colleague, like a peer, like an equal, and some even said, "Brad, you're the star of the show." I said, "No, the mask is the star of the show. I'm transporting it through the frame, you see."
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And 5, 6 weeks, that's as I'm learning more about film, in my head, it's always seemed like movies were kind of this like gargantuan task that took like months and months and months, but this one was pretty compact then.
Well, horror films traditionally, I think the original Halloween was done in like 3 weeks. I mean, it was nothing, 20 something days. And this was more polished. Obviously, they've gotten more sophisticated as they, as time's got technology and all that. And plus, they had some big names. It was Busta, Jamie. She came back, and but yeah, it was 5 weeks. I can't remember we worked 5 days a week or 6 days a week, but it was 5 weeks, and then a week. I remember 6 weeks all told.
Okay.
And, the only but the test audience, they didn't like the ending we shot, so we shot another ending, and they didn't like that one. So with the ending you see today, where he's being wheeled into the morgue, and the coroner opens the bag and his eyes pop open, that's the only scene that's not me.
Oh, wow.
They shot that in New York. They shot that in New York. All this stuff with the firemen and all this and that. You can
Hmm.
hear the one. You can hear the one fireman's accent. It's very and but yeah, that was not shot. That was the only part of the movie that wasn't me. But that guy that is like, he's on the screen for a second and a half. I've seen people have come up to me with resurrection stuff, and they've had him sign it
Oh, that's
because
amazing.
he was Michael Myers for a second and a half. Well, he was on the screen, so he's the
I
guy.
Yeah, I guess there's a credit there. Played Michael Myers in end scene of Resurrection.
Well, it's just like Ari, what's his name, that bills himself as the first Jason.
Yeah.
He was this big on the screen for half a second, but he was
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I
yeah.
mean, hey, going back to the horror fans, they love their credits and getting to meet people that did basically anything on a horror film. It's great.
Well, Kevin, I was at this one, and this is maybe not a good example, but I was at this one horror convention, and one of the kids that had been an extra on Walking Dead, but because he had been a zombie on camera, even though only as an extra. I mean, I don't know how many autographs he sold, but he had a table, and he had people coming up to him, and the show was huge at the time, so I'm sure he
Right.
sold some autographs. But anyway, yeah.
That's fantastic. When you mentioned the audition, you said you did the walk. Did coming from having seen just the first two Halloween films, did you kind of go off of what you saw in the movies? Did they tell you what they wanted, or did you kind of go with what you thought the character would be?
I hadn't seen the film in 17 or 18 years. That's why I didn't remember his name was Mike Myers, you see. And when I did the walk for Rick, I did as best I could remember. But also, Rick told me, I hope I'm answering this question properly. Rick said, "Listen, Brad, imagine your upper body is sitting on your hips, like your hips and legs are a pedestal, and they don't swing or anything. They're just sitting there, and the legs and they transport you around, so your body doesn't shift a whole lot." So I took that and did as best I can remember how Michael walked in the first two films, and I did that for him three, maybe four times, and that's when he turned to Paul and said, "Yeah, it'll be fine." So and then after I got the part, Kevin, I rented all the Halloween films and fast forwarded through all the bullshit. Sorry, the dialogue till I came to Michael. And I watched all the different versions of Michael. But of course, I ended up with going back to Nick Castle.
Sure.
The scene near the end of the film where he's walking from across the street towards Jamie and the kids and the kids in the house. That's I think that's the longest piece where we see him walk for a number of seconds. You can really watch and study his gait. That's the scene that I watched over and over and over.
Okay. I like it. I like that. That's fantastic. You're the way you play Michael Myers in this, and I think it also attributes to the camera angles because I just rewatched the film yesterday because it's sort of like that found footage reality show. The
Mhm.
way that your Michael Myers is presented is so ominous where you just kind of appear in shots, you're kind of silhouetted, and then your kills are being done through these handheld cameras.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
very menacing.
Thank you.
And so you're listed online also as a co-stunt coordinator for Resurrection. Is that accurate?
Yes, back in the day, the Americans used to match the American stunt coordinator. They would match him with a Canadian because you're from Los Angeles, you're in Vancouver for the first time. You don't know who's who in the zoo, so you need somebody to fetch your coffee and also look like help you booking people, locals at least, because you're only allowed legally to bring so many of your guys up from from the states, and so they matched me. So I mean, I was pretty hands off if Donna needed my help, but it wasn't a big stunty show, Kevin.
Sure.
So, but whenever she worked, whether I was there or not, I got paid the same hours.
Very
So
cool.
it was a heck of a deal because I have another friend who shall remain nameless that has been in this one franchise, played the character three times. But we were in Amsterdam years ago doing a Q&A, and at this time he'd only done the first two. But he was telling me how long it took to put his mask on and how long it took to take it off. And I was just like, dude, you must have made $1 trillion in overtime. He said, no, I just did it for a flat rate. I couldn't believe my ears, Kevin.
Wow.
Couldn't believe my ears. I made more on Halloween than he made all told on those two films.
Oh,
Maybe not if you do the exchange, because I got
right.
paid Canadian, of course. But anyway, yeah. But I mean, because my mask, of course, was fit to my face. It took 15 seconds to take off. It's just a Velcro strip at the back. You just put the mask on, you do the Velcro up, you comb the hair, you go. And
Oh,
they darkened my eyes. Originally, I shot a scene or two, or I did a couple of shots at least, where there was a mesh in the mask. They had a black mesh, but Mustafa Khan was there at the beginning to help them launch. And he said, no, I want to see because apparently they'd done that in another film, maybe one of the other films. But anyway, Mustafa said, no, I want to see that I want to be able to see there's a person behind the mask. I want to be able to see his eyes. So they just did the raccoon darkness around my eyes. And yeah, so that's how that all came about.
fantastic. I gotta I was wondering as I'm watching this when you're doing these stunts and these kills, and I've always like the Michael Myers mask, as you mentioned, is iconic, but is that something you might maybe had to adjust to with having that mask and kind of the limited vision going on there a little bit?
You know what? I don't remember ever feeling there was a problem with the vision.
Oh, really?
No, I could see it was so well fit to my face, Kevin, that like I don't remember there ever being an issue with being able to see.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I never
Yeah.
knew that they did the molds to the actors' faces. That's
Well, they did
incredible.
that with me, and it's funny you say that because I keep forgetting to ask the other guys because I'm very curious as to whether they did that with the other guys, and Kevin, at the first convention, we all had all the boys lined up. The first convention I ever did was in Pasadena. It was a Halloween convention,
Yeah.
2003. And they were asking the guys, did you get to take anything home? And Dick Warlock was telling us about how he took home the mask, the coverall, the boots, and the knife. And I said to Malik, I said, I didn't get anything for a souvenir, Malik. Is there any chance I could get a mask? He goes, well, Brad, we're just kind of wary about where these, the actual movie quality masks end up. I mean, I guess they're afraid they're going to end up in Michael Myers and some goat porn or something. I anyway, but I think eventually I got him to where he said, yeah, I'll get you a mask if you want, Brad. But, Kevin, because I didn't know what I was getting into, I didn't
Sure.
follow. And 2 years ago, one of the masks I wore in the movie supposedly was auctioned off in London, England. You know how much money they got for that? This is, I take everything with a grain of salt you see online, right? But why would people lie about this? Anyway, it went for 50,000 sterling pounds,
That's crazy.
with
I
like
believe it.
60 something US cash, which is 80 something US Canadian. Oh, could I use that dough to these days, Kevin? Oh, wow. Anyway,
Uh, that's
could
insane.
live and learn.
There you go. Well, I wondered about the when you mentioned the molding thing because as the franchise goes on, Michael Myers' mask is ever changing like form and shape wise. So when you said the thing about the molding, I wondered if maybe that's something they had done before because I know obviously the first one was the infamous William Shatner mask that they got for a couple dollars and painted
Yeah.
white and cut out the holes and then they had more money to play with.
Well, I want to, of course, I'll eventually see the boys again. I want to ask them, did they cast your face to the mask of that? Because, diehard Halloween fans can look at a mask and tell you exactly which film it's from.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I mean, they all look the same, except for Tyler's mask. His mask just looked like it's been run over by a thresher a couple times. It looks so chopped up, But other than that, I can't tell them apart.
So you mentioned that you've met a lot of the other boys that have played Michael. Is there anyone you really hit it off with? Any of the other Michael Myers actors that you got to really hang out with and connect with?
Well, I get along with all the guys, but I already had met them once before, I think, at one of the horror conventions. But was it last year or the year before? Maybe it was the year before. Anyway, I was in Cleveland, I think it was, and my neighbor was James Jude Courtney and his lovely girlfriend Sarah, and I just fell in love with them. They fell in love with me, and we're all best friends now. James actually just earlier this year or last year tried to. Some people wanted him to go to Brazil, but then for some reason he couldn't make it. So he asked me, "Do you want me to talk to them for you, Brad?" And of course, the first thing you're supposed to do, Kevin, is, well, what are the dates?
Sure.
But of course, I said yes, yes, yes. So he actually contacted them. They were all excited about Brad coming, and then I looked at then I found out the dates and found I was already booked.
Oh,
So I did anyway. My point, and then I just was in Detroit. And somehow James got me invited along as a sort of a sidekick because he's that kind of guy right now that we're good friends. But I know I cannot tell you how much I love those two. And
oh,
Sarah's from England. I'm not sure where they met, but they live together now in Carolina, South Carolina, I think.
oh wow.
Anyway, they're my favorite. I mean, I love all the guys.
Sure.
I have to tell you that I can't even remember how this all came about, Kevin. But I've been calling Dick Warlock Uncle Dick. I think since I met him, and he goes, "Oh, it's my favorite nephew." Whenever I phone, my favorite nephew. But Dick Warlock and I are very good friends too, and Kevin, God bless him. He says this to people out loud, and he actually said it in an interview. He said that I think Brad Loree was the best Michael Myers because of what he did with his eyes. Some people have noticed, Kevin, I've told people that whenever we had a medium shot or a close up of Michael, I would try and cross my eyes just a bit to try and take the focus out of them because I wanted them to look dead, like a shark's eyes, that soulless look of a doll's eyes. That's what I wanted to look like. And a lot of people have actually commented on that. Of course, some people, like I said, take it too far. This one kid says to me, he says, "You're the first Michael Myers with blue eyes." And I'm like, dude, if you can tell the color of Michael's eyes, you're not watching the movie properly.
Yeah, you might be doing a freeze frame there and like really analyzing every shot.
Yeah, that's a little too much. But anyway, those so Dick and James, they're my. But yeah, I get along with all the guys. I'm very good friends with George's daughter. Um, when poor George passed away, as did Jim Winburn. I wasn't close to Jim. I know Tom Morgan very well, and Chris Duran.
Hmm.
I tease Chris. I don't do it today too much because I and I can say this because I've said this before. I love Chris, but I hate, and he admits today that he admits I never studied. I never even watched it at Halloween. I just did it my way. He says, but he realizes now that was a mistake because he's thinking like anybody would think. It's a
Sure.
guy in a mask. Who cares how he moves? If you don't watch the movie, you don't understand how, about how iconic his gait and the way he moves is, and the fact that he never dies. But
Right. Well, I
anyway,
think that because I saw that yesterday when I was watching the movie, the fact that there's so many close-up shots of your eyes coming through the mask, because I think what's always made Michael Myers kind of terrifying is that it is evil incarnate, but it's also a person under there.
yeah,
And so, like, I feel like some of the later sequels, as much as I enjoy them, kind of got away from that and went a little too far in the supernatural. So, putting you in this contained house with, modern technology at the time, and then your eyes shining through, and you being really up in people's faces really brought that humanity back.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I had said to Malik when we were down in LA for them to cast my head, I said, Malik, which direction is this Halloween movie going? Are we? Because I'll tell you, I mean, I'm super excited. I says, but I'm not really interested in being a party to in films that are overly gratuitously violent and gory and bloody. He says, no, Brad. That was one of the things in the original Halloween films is they weren't, overly violent, but they were just really, really suspenseful. And I said, well, that's right, and he assured me that we were going to go back to the old school way of kind of get back to the grassroots of the Halloween franchise with the way it looked. They were going to send Michael off up into space at least.
Oh no.
I'd have done it, but I wouldn't have been happy about it. But
Sure.
you know,
Well, with the sort of found footage, sort of handheld camera stuff, did that play into the stunts at all? Did you have to do stunts differently to kind of capture that to make it look like a recorded video?
not really, because actually, I don't know if you noticed, but when I get kicked through the window, they have just a half-second clip of the ceiling as I'm flipping because they actually had me the thing she wrapped me up with and he ended up being hung by there was an actual camera on there,
Oh wow.
and they actually used some of the actors when you see the steady camera, that is the actual cameras the kids had on the sides of their heads. And yeah, but it was Resurrection was kind of ahead of its time almost that way with the
Yeah.
texting, the reference to Survivor, and all the it was and I think that's why people today accept it more than they did at the time. It's
Hmm.
kind of hokey at the time, like people didn't understand that this is where we're going. There's going to be CCTV cameras everywhere.
I was gonna say this was 2002, and like really after this, obviously reality shows were there, but like early 2000s, they were so prominent everywhere. They were
Yes,
like, we'll just watch a day in the life of these people. Like
yeah, exactly,
so, in,
exactly.
so instead, here you'll watch a day in the life of a serial killer, and which is kind of interesting. And with doing the kills, because obviously, there's probably a lot of setup that goes into that. Do you guys have to do that more than once to get the shot, and then it's fixed in editing, or you use like one take or two takes at most sometimes?
Oh, it depends how it goes. I mean, that's a good question. My memory does not serve. I don't remember. No, I mean we shot everything a few times, Kevin.
Okay.
I mean, because there's so many different frames that they use. You don't notice it because it's all when they run the film together, you're not really as an observer unless you're looking for that specifically. You don't notice the different frames and lenses and filters they use, but that's all. So they have to get multiple takes just for that reason, to kind of make this collage that works as a stream of consciousness kind of viewing. Anyway.
Sure. Well, and then with setting up the stunts, and this really applies to a lot of the other stunt work you've done as well. I talked with I blanked on her last name, but the girl that played she was a contortionist. She did Samara Weaving in one of the Ring sequels. So she was kind of the creepy girl with the stringy hair, kind of contorting her body. She was at the same con where I met you, but I asked her at the time for her as a contortionist, does she go in and get told what is needed of her with stunts, or does she get to kind of play with it with some free reign and figure things out collaboratively? Is that which way was it for you? Did they just tell you what they wanted, or did you get to kind of help mold things a little bit with the stunts?
No, I just let Donna set the stunts up. I mean, I like I said, I wasn't really that hands on because they didn't need me. I was like, Donna, I'm just in my room if you need me. But it was. I know when to be there and I know when to get out of the way. Is what I'm saying, or at least I think I do. I have to think
Sure.
that, But no, they just, and yeah, of course, you do discuss it at the time. Like for for example, that getting kicked through that window. I only had like I did not have an inch to spare on either side of my shoulders to get through that window because it was quite narrow. And the
Hmm.
thing was, they didn't want me to just to jump through it. I had to run backwards 3/4 steps. Well, of course, you're talking about 8 feet different distance. And like the first two or three rehearsals, I whacked into the sides of them. But I don't know. The God smiled on me that day because we only did that when they called action. I got through that window. It was a it was a wonder. It was a wonder.
I imagine that you and Busta must have had a lot of fun trying to shoot that scene with the back and forth that you guys have.
I could not make it through the end of rehearsal because I was laughing so hard. He just cracked me up. Oh, fuck. I laughed. By the time we shot it, I was used to it, but I would rehearse it, and I just thought it was the funniest thing. And I busted. I did have a lot of. I don't. I had very little interaction with him as far as time off from actual shooting. But every morning in the makeup trailer, he would give me the biggest bear hug, and we'd laugh because we were having so much fun. And but I got quite close to his acting coach, and
Oh,
actually,
cool.
when the towers came down, they were the two people I knew lived in downtown New York.
Hmm.
Way of finding out if they were okay, so I was kind of stressed out there for a while. But then they came back to Vancouver to do some reshoots, and so I got a chance to, you know, because that was kind of scary
Sure.
for all of
Uh,
us. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it really just seems like really kind of a tight-knit group of friends here as you guys are making this movie, just having fun and getting work done and putting together something that was really really special for fans of the franchise and also just a, kind of a unique special horror movie. So, it's really heartwarming to hear like all these funny stories and memories that you have of working on it.
Well, it's fun. It's fun, Kev, because it was like I mean, it was the highlight of my career as an actor or a stuntman, and and then I see Katie on YouTube where she does this YouTube show where she says she's gonna critique Resurrection. She says, I've never actually watched this. I was kind of offended. I thought,
Oh,
we did that movie together. You're gonna be bothered to watch it. And then when she critiques it, of course, she has a much more alerted eye because she was disparaging herself somewhat for overacting and whatnot. And I thought she was one of the best actors in the film.
mhm.
Of course, I guess I don't know bad acting from good acting because it's just if you're an actor, I look up to you. That's all I can say.
Sure.
You know,
Oh, that's incredible.
yeah.
I I always am curious and thinking about this myself with my co-host and friends of mine, and I wanted to ask you this. Uh, with the Halloween franchise, because obviously after your movie, it was rebooted once with Rob Zombie, then it was rebooted again, and then we've got a video game, and then probably talks of another reboot or some retelling of the story. What is it for you that comes to mind with what keeps people coming back to the story of Michael Myers so often?
Well, I think the buzz you get from being afraid of Michael Myers is addictive. It's almost like a drug.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with there's a real fun to being scared of Michael Myers and just being such an iconic character 40 plus years later and still getting into people's hearts and terrifying them at night. I mean, he's evil incarnate, so it, you know.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this story real quick. The last day of shooting, Rick had basically put together the first 15-minute, the teaser with Jamie and all that stuff. I mean, there
Mhm.
were some shots that were missing. They were going to put in later, whatnot. But anyway, at lunchtime, we turned the lights out, and my girlfriend was there. She's holding my hand, and we're watching this thing. And the opening scenes where Michael's walking down the tunnel underneath the building or whatnot, which was the very first thing we shot, by the way. And my girlfriend started squeezing my hand because she's getting nervous because it's Michael Myers, and I started getting freaked out. Then suddenly I went, "Wait a minute, that's me! What am I?" I actually scared myself, Kevin. That's a true story.
That's
That's
amazing.
so hilarious. I just, but I got into it. This is the beauty of the magic of movies.
For
You
sure.
get lost in the story, and you can live vicariously through the writers and the production. So anyway,
I gotta ask real quick, the beginning scene where you're facing off with Jamie, you actually got to work with her? You did all those stunts?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the scene where you're hanging upside down when she wraps your leg, how did that process go? Because I imagine I've heard one of the Terrifier movies has something similar where somebody's hanging upside down, and because of how low budget it was, they just had to hang by their ankles for limited amounts of time, as I understand it. So what did they do for you to get that shot?
Oh well, Donna had it all set up with you're in a harness and there's a cable going up your pat leg and it's all. And Donna was I gotta say she was exemplary because she said we can't hang Brad upside down for any reason longer than a minute because if you hang too long you will actually burst vessels in your blood
Yeah.
vessels in your eyes, right? And so no, she was really good about that. And so I remember hanging. The one problem was when I was hanging is my body would swing like this. So they had to put another line on me, and I guess they take it out in post with the computer because they didn't want to do this. They just wanted him facing her and whatnot. But that was a fun scene, and I got to work with Jamie. But I remember standing in the stairwell with her trying to think of what to talk about because I'm I got the mask on, so she can't really hear me that well. But because everything's about light, so it takes forever. So just her and I in the stairwell, and I was so starstruck, I didn't know what to say to her. And so she's telling me about, oh, I don't plan on ever headline ever again. I'll do 2-3 weeks here. I got kids and this and that and everything. But then Freaky Friday came along, and I guess that was enough of an acting challenge. And then Christmas with the Cranks and whatnot. So it's hard to give up the limelight. That's what and I'm speaking from somebody who was in the limelight just as a stunt person, but
Sure.
given life was super. I mean, it almost killed me, Kevin. But there was something else I was going to tell you about Jay. Um, but when I heard that the instant I heard that she was nominated, my little voice said she's going to win. I don't know. I mean, I just wasn't just because I could sense that she was going to win. It wasn't just that I wanted her to win.
Right.
And but I think she was genuinely surprised when they announced her name because she goes, "Shut up," she said to the
Oh,
anyway.
that's fantastic. I think I might have made the joke to you at that con that I met you at, but of all the, countless Halloween movies they've done, your Michael Myers has been the successful one because you did kill Laurie Strode. Like,
Got to kill Laurie Strode, and then of course he had to come back. But that's all par for the course in the Halloween world, right?
right.
I was
Uh,
for a while there. I was the first and only Canadian to play. I'm still the first Canadian, but Tyler Main's originally from Saskatchewan. But
mhm.
yeah, a number of things that people were credited me for.
That's incredible. I
Yeah,
uh I really think it's a special unique entry in the franchise. It's just a really fun kind of escapism movie to watch, the reality show element, the humanity of Michael Myers, the way you guys, execute everything. It's just a really fun special entry in the franchise and I really really enjoy watching it. So I'm happy to get to talk to you about it today. And then
thanks, guys.
before we wrap things up, I just wanted to ask because there's a lot of credits, listed for stunt work that you've done. Are there any other movies that are some of your favorites that you got to work on, or any particular stunts that come to mind?
Well, Kevin, we could do another hour on that
Oh,
alone.
of course.
I I got to do a little acting fight scene with Jack Lemmon, who was my dad was a big fan of Jack Lemmon, and I was very starstruck that day. But because I was an actor, I went up to him and said, "Mr. Lemmon." But this is, of course, Kevin. The thing is, you kids today, you don't understand how lucky you are, because for the majority of my time on set, we didn't have cell phones with cameras in them, right? And when the cameras did come around, they were shit. Anyway, I never got a picture with Mr. Lemon. And then, of course, one night I was doubling Alfred Molina on a reshoot of Dudley Do Right, and I was on set with Eric Idle. And Eric Idle was one of the members of Monty Python, and my favorite teacher growing up is the one that turned me on to Monty Python. So they've always that was a anyway. In answer to your question, I've worked with Jackie Chan and Jet Li and Jean Claude Van Damme and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone. I'm well, all the big boys, and I've been starstruck so many times, Kevin. I can't keep track because, like I said, I would like to. I mean, I love my stunt family. I think they're all crazy. I always wanted to be the guy that rode the horse to the mark, got off, kissed the girl. They all want to get shot off the horse at 30 miles an hour. Out of your mind. Anyway, the film industry attracts a lot of kooks. But
That's amazing.
They're all great people.
Well, I love to hear that, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and my podcast, Midnight Terrors. Thank you for all your work, Brad. You, like I said, you were a real joy to talk to at that con. I'm glad I get to talk to you here. But the Halloween franchise, in particular, Halloween Resurrection, and a lot of movies you've worked on, like I mentioned, X-Men 2, Watchmen, a lot of the movies you've done and the work you've done has brought me a lot of joy, and I know it's brought a lot of joy to a lot of other people. And every person I talk to that's met you at a con just has nothing but great moments to tell me about when they talk to you. So thank you for everything you do, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Kevin, God bless you. I really appreciate you saying that. And so, listen, man, keep in touch. We'll do this again in a year or whenever you want. Dude, I'm just sitting around wishing I had somebody to talk to. Brother, get a hold of me anytime.
Would love it. Absolutely. We will do this again. I know my co-host Roy was bummed that he couldn't be here today, but he sends his love and wants to meet you sometime. Is there a way for people to keep track of any like cons that you're doing, or you have any cons coming up that you want to plug real quick that you're going to be at?
Well, I just posted some stuff on Facebook for the very first time because I'm really a cyber tard, Kevin, and but I really need to promote myself a little more because the conventions are basically my social life.
Mm-hmm.
In this actors co-op, and my best friend is not doing well, and so I really, I don't really have anything to do or anywhere to go. So when I go to these conventions, I always make new connections and make new friends, and I really like to do more. Anyway, in answer to your question, if people go on Facebook, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, and I do my best to try and monitor. But Kevin, I'm just, I'm constantly deleting stuff that I should do. Thank goodness I took a picture of your email because somehow I deleted your email with all the information before the show started. I went, Brad, why did you? But I'm constantly dropping the ball because I'm 66.
Oh,
And
no problem.
I graduated high school, Kevin, thinking computer was spelled with a K. Anyway,
Listen, I'm 33 and I still can't keep up with all the technology. So you can never know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I appreciate that. But thank you for all your kind words, brother. Keep in touch, and I really appreciate your time. And let's do it again sometime.
absolutely would love it, Brad. Thanks so much. Everybody, be sure to go check out Brad's socials. And if you see him at a con, please go say hello. He will be one of the best people you meet. So thank you, Brad. This is the Midnight Terrors podcast. We will see you all again very soon. Peace and love.
God bless America. Take care, brother. Cheer, man.
You too.
Bye-bye.